Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with an absolutely lovely reissue, an HMV, Harmonia Mundi. What am I talking about? Harmonia Mundi Gold. That's that series. Yes, it says gold here. Disc of Purcell. Two Purcell discs led by Philippe Herreweghe, and the Collegium Vocale Gent, among other things, and other soloists and people and whatnot, doing, well, they're two Purcell discs. One of them contains the two Odes to Saint Cecilia, which are amazing, one of which is Hail, Bright Cecilia, that's the famous one, and Welcome to All the Pleasures, the Odes for Saint Cecilia's Day, and the other is Funeral Sentences, featuring the funeral music for Queen Mary, along with a selection of anthems and other sacred music. Wonderfully contrasted program, actually, when you put it together on two discs. Originally, they were two completely separate discs. Now, I have to say, I don't do a lot of Purcell. I am not a fan of Purcell, generally. I don't dislike Purcell. There are things I absolutely adore. His fantasias for the viols and, the theatrical music and the stuff that other people made things out of. And I always liked, the Fairy Queen and King Arthur and all that stuff. But I've always regarded Purcell as sort of a big fish in a small pond, because until you get to Handel, is there any English composer after like Tallis and Bird, the early ones, so the early Baroque, say the second half of the 17th century up until Handel's arrival in the 17 teens, is there anyone that we care about besides Purcell? I know you'll send in a list of names. Like I said, is there anyone we care about besides Purcell? The answer is no. Now, what did Purcell do? I mean, he lived a very, very short life. He was like 30 when he died or something like that. I mean, how old was he? Henry Purcell, 1695, 1659. So yeah, he was a kid, incredibly talented. Let's not kid ourselves. He was marvelous. But the reason that I'm not a big fan of Purcell, first of all, is because he gets relentlessly flogged in England, which always annoys me. Not because he's flogging, but because they make extraordinary claims that I don't think are always well-deserved. But second of all, he lived at a time when music itself was in transition, and his style is transitional. Now, sometimes transitional styles are amazingly fun, but early Baroque music always strikes me, and not just Purcell's, as kind of always trying to become something it can't be yet. You've got the continuo sort of tying down the harmony, and you've got musical forms that tend to be extremely brief, incredibly short. I mean, if you look at his theater music too, you've got act tunes, things are 30 seconds long, or a little song that's a minute and a half or something like that. The music doesn't seem to take wing. It doesn't expand. It doesn't have enough volume and content to justify not listening. It's quite attractive, but the extraordinary claims often made for it. Let me put it that way. And so we have here, let me see, we have some evidence of that, but more to the point, in these odes, we have some really wonderful extended numbers. I mean, the opening symphony and things is 9 minutes and 42 seconds long, even if it occurs in like 50 little tiny movements. And some of these numbers are 3-4 minutes long, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. There's let's see, In Vain the Amorous Flute. In Vain the Amorous Flute. It flutes along for like 6 freaking minutes. Thank God. It's absolutely wonderful. And the same thing is true, by the way, of the funeral sentences here, which are extraordinarily lovely. There's a march and a canzona, two canzonas, which are two full anthems, and then another march. And, the total work is 14 minutes long. The verse anthem, My Heart is Indicting, is 14 minutes long. I mean, it seems that in some of these works, rather than in his instrumental works, you get that amplitude, that sense of the music has time to make its expressive effect, the kind of thing that I look for when I listen to music generally. You hear that in Dido and Aeneas, her final lament, When I Get Laid, or whatever it's called. That really has it's gorgeously affecting, of course, and it has amazing, amplitude and staying power. And that's the point. Anyway, these are lovely, lovely performances by Philippe Herreweghe and the Collegium Vocale Gent. And I think that, for those of you who are not dyed-in-the-wool Purcellians, like me, discs like this are marvelous because they give us the best of him, first of all, the most affecting, the most expressive, the most powerful. He was, first and foremost, a composer of vocal music. And the other problem I had with Purcell, personal problem, was that I like instrumental music more than I like vocal music, generally speaking. And so if you like instrumental music, you're not going to like these teeny, tiny little sonatas with little, mini, tiny little movementlets, little sniglets of melody here and there. You want something, you have to get into the vocal music. You just have to. You have no choice. But if you do, the rewards are very, very rich indeed. So I know this sounds like damning with faint praise, and some of you Purcellians will jump up and down and carry on, and you're perfectly free to do that. But for me, this is an absolutely outstanding pair of discs for those of you who are sitting on the fence or who don't know your Purcell that well yet, or who are disappointed in what you've heard in the instrumental realm. This is another thing entirely, believe me. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.